All right, welcome to the Young Turks. We got a big show ahead for you guys. Of course, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
All right, I will explain that in a little bit. You know, we got Al-Awlaki, we got upsides and downsides of that. We got the president on that. We got the Republicans on that. Everybody's coming out in different directions. Later, Gingrich will explain to us why we're not rhinoceroses and how God should get the credit. That's an awesome clip, okay? And furthermore, unfortunately, I've got news for you, as we usually do, about how terrible the economy is and how great the bankers are doing. Okay? But first, fun new camera shot. We won't be using it. Back. Boy, how'd you like that for Rob? But I did that on purpose. It's not set yet. I just wanted to have fun. But you got to do it quicker. What am I going to do with these folks?
Whatever.
Okay, we're going to get better. We're going to get better. Okay, but before I do any of that, I'm going to start with an of course. So, Blanche Lincoln, so-called Democrat from Arkansas, recently lost re-election. She was a corporatist Democrat. PCCC, among other progressives, and some of the unions worked hard to make sure that she lost the primary. They were not successful. She hung on in the Democratic primary, and we were told by the Obama administration, also Bill Clinton and many others, oh, you don't want a progressive running there. No, no, no. Since Blanche Lincoln is more conservative, she has a much better chance in Arkansas. I believe she lost by about 30 points. She got crushed by the Republican. Because when choosing between a real Republican and a light Republican, they choose the real Republican. If you gave them an actual choice, somebody who said, hey, you know what, I got another proposal, maybe we had a shot. Anyway, she lost, and the minute she lost, we knew what was going to happen. We told you what was going to happen. She was going to instantly become a lobbyist for those same corporate interests that she was serving in the Senate. And today, that's exactly what happened. So she'd already gone down that road to begin with, but today she joins the National Federation of Independent Businesses. Ooh. And they claim to be for small businesses such, but of course immediately she also started making arguments in favor of big business, really shocking. They are what is described as a conservative lobbying organization. Weird that a Democrat would join a conservative lobbying organization. Didn't see that coming. For decades they've been fighting for anti-labor, anti-environmental, and anti-consumer policies. Salon has a good article on this written by Alex Perrine. And then you go to her own quotes when they ask her, hey, how do you feel about the regulations, the revision of regulations, and the overhauling and getting rid of some regulations that the Obama administration is doing? Now, she says, fantastic, can't wait. She's like, great, get rid of regulations because why? And I love this. And she said it twice in one answer. Because it is creating uncertainty for businesses. Well, officially now a Republican and a conservative robot, as we always knew she was, right? That's such a nonsense argument. In fact, she thinks we should delay the regulations further. But wait a minute, wouldn't that create more uncertainty? Okay, of course she doesn't want them to pay the bill. She wants them to be able to pollute, etc., and have us pay the bill instead of the companies creating the pollution. She says that delaying the greenhouse gas emission rule is something that should definitely be done, and just about every other conservative talking point you've ever heard, she sputtered out in one answer that takes about 2 paragraphs long in her new job as corporate, let's stay a little polite, robot. Okay, which is what she was in the Senate anyway. So the so-called Democrats who were in favor of Blanche Lincoln staying in the Senate and doing this kind of bidding for corporations inside the Senate rather than outside the Senate, well, as always, they were just flat out wrong. As always. What would happen if she got reelected? She would have done the same thing anyway. Oh, we got a Democrat there. Who cares? What difference does it make if she does the same exact thing as Republicans? Shocking that she cashed out and it can't wait to make money for the same people she was serving in the Senate. Weird, huh? I'm sure it's a unique case. Probably didn't happen with Chris Dodd or Evan Bayh or just about any other retiring senator on the Democratic side, let alone the Republican side. Okay, so now we go on to the major story of today. Well, let's do it official.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Al-Awlaki! Down goes Al-Awlaki! Doesn't quite have a ring to it. Anwar Al-Awlaki is a U.S. citizen. He was born in New Mexico. He was in Yemen. He is ethnically from Yemen. And he got a drone on top of his head earlier today. And he's dead. There was 4 other people with him. They are, of course, now described as Al-Qaeda operatives. They are also dead. By the way, there was a second American citizen with him, Samir Khan, U.S. citizen of Pakistani heritage, who also apparently produced an Al-Qaeda web magazine. You know, I always say, like, how do these guys produce all these, like, web magazines and we don't catch them? Turns out we do catch them, and we put a drone on, bomb on top of their head, and they're gone. Okay, so I have very mixed feelings about this story. My conservative side says, okay, he had it coming, okay? Now, if people who have encouraged attacks against us are worried that when they see a drone, that's the last thing they see, I kind of see that as a good thing, okay? Now, of course, the critical question is, did they actually plan the attacks against us? And that's where we run into some trouble. One other good thing about this, look, I said this from day one. I said it when Bush was doing it, and then when Obama picked up the pace. Special forces operations and drone strikes are much more efficient than wide-scale wars. You might not like the drone strikes, okay? But would you rather have invaded Yemen? No way. No way. These are much more efficient, much better way to go than a whole war, okay? Now, that's the upside. The downside is he was an American citizen. We did not try him. Are we positive that he was the right guy? Well, as you read into the story, you're going to see that we're not quite positive. He was put on a kill or capture list by the CIA, and when they go to describe him in the New York Times and other publications, and everything else I've seen before he got killed, they always say suspected, believed to be involved in plots. For example, he knew, apparently, according to different sources, 2 or 3 of the hijackers that did 9/11. And he was in San Diego in a mosque there where he was preaching to some of them. But the FBI had already detained him back when he was in the United States to ask him about that, and they cleared him of those charges. So they cleared him. He was not involved in 9/11, okay? So then you turn to other things. Apparently, he exchanged emails with Major Nidal Malik Hassan, the guy who shot the 13 and killed 13 people at Fort Hood. Now, if he plotted that and we eventually brought him to justice, I'm ecstatic that we brought him to justice. But the thing is, as all the reports say, well, he didn't quite plot with them. They emailed back and forth. Hassan does what he does, and then later, Al-Awlaki calls him a hero at some point. But wait, that doesn't mean they planned it. In fact, it appears that we have no evidence that he planned it. So a little questionable. Then you move on to the Pakistani-American man that was trying to do the Times Square bombing. You remember that? Now, the bomb didn't go off, thank God. So did he plan that? Was he an active participant in that? Well, again, not quite. They say that that gentleman was inspired by Al-Awlaki. Do we kill people for inspiring folks to do the wrong things? I don't want them to do that, but do we kill them for it, especially if they're U.S. citizens? Okay, how about Umar Farouk Abdul Muttalib? That's the Christmas plane bomber. And again, there the evidence is that he was, quote, a student of Al-Awlaki. But wait a minute, what does that mean? What is that a student of? Did he say, hey, strap the thing onto your underwear, go onto the bomb, here's how you go onto the plane, this is where you find the bomb? If he was an active participant, great, we should indict him. And by the way, if you indict him, as we did with Osama bin Laden, you're on much better grounds. But do you know with Al-Awlaki that our government refused to indict him? They didn't want to bring any evidence forward against him. So in the end, when you add all these things up, what you have is a U.S. citizen who we believe was kind of involved maybe in inspiring some plots, and we decided to execute him. And we did. I am not comforted by that. Not because Al-Awlaki was a good guy, obviously he wasn't. At the very least, he was encouraging all these attacks against us, right? So it's nobody sheds a tear for Al-Awlaki. But think about the precedent that we set. So now, the next time a president, whether it's a Democratic president or a Republican president, you know, Rick Perry could win the presidency if he's in charge, and he says, well, you know what? I didn't indict anybody either. Just like Barack Obama, I didn't present any evidence in court. I made up a list of U.S. citizens living abroad that I thought should be executed, and I went about the business of executing all of them. Are you comfortable with that? I'm not comfortable with that. So when you look at it in its totality, although it does have clear upsides, in the end, I think this is a dangerous, dangerous precedent. And this is not how the United States of America should be conducting itself. And by the way, what do we tell all the other nations across the world? Well, if you think that you have enough evidence, kind of, in your own head that you've never presented at trial or to court to anybody, and you want to execute people abroad, well, that's what we do, so go for it. That's a recipe for chaos. That is not international law, and that's scary. So now let me draw this out a little further for you guys, right? Imagine, and I don't want to start conspiracy theories, and I'm not saying this is true. I'm just using this as a hypothetical, right? So that you get a sense of what the possibilities are. What if Al-Awlaki was originally working with the CIA, and then they lost him? That he was their agent, and they had sent him in there to get Al-Qaeda guys, etc. And then it turns out he flipped on them, and he's with those guys, but they don't really have any evidence that he's actually done any of these plots. In fact, many of the news stories say that he was more of an inspirational and messaging guy, not an actual guy who carries out the attacks or plans the attacks, right? What if they lost him and then they were embarrassed by that? Then they tell the president, yeah, don't indict him, don't do anything, just trust us. We really believe he's the bad guy. Now, let me ask you again, conservative, liberal, it doesn't matter. Are you positive that the CIA would never do that and then just press the button and happen to execute a guy so that if we brought him into court, they'd be massively embarrassed? Oh my God, you put this guy in here and then he turns on us? That'd be really embarrassing, right? You sure they wouldn't press the button? What else would they press the button on if they're embarrassed, right? Or to cover their tracks or to cover their ass, right? So for example, Jose Padilla, we were told, oh, dirty bomber. And he was another United States citizen, and he was going to destroy Chicago, he was going to blow up buildings, etc. When they finally got him into court, and the Bush administration struggled for years to make sure that he never got to court, when finally the court system said, I mean, this guy's a U.S. citizen, you have to give him a trial, when they had to offer evidence, they said, yeah, we were lying all along, we never had it. He's not a dirty bomber. There was no gas attacks, there was no blowing up buildings in Chicago, there was no taking out bridges in New York. He just worked with some guys in Bosnia on some unrelated terrorism that didn't have anything to do with us. It was good enough to convict him on that related terrorism charge, but all the stuff they'd been saying about him was total lies. Imagine if Padilla, instead of getting caught in the U.S., was outside the U.S. and they put him on this list. You think they wouldn't have put him on the list? You think they wouldn't have put him on the list? And then they press the button, execute. It's a terrible precedent. Okay, now here's President Obama trying to take credit. Okay, let's watch.
Earlier this morning, Anwar Al-Awlaki, a leader of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, was killed in Yemen. The death of Al-Awlaki is a major blow to Al-Qaeda's most active operational affiliate. Al-Awlaki was the leader of external operations for Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. In that role, he took the lead in planning and directing efforts to murder innocent Americans. He directed the failed attempt to blow up an airplane on Christmas Day in 2009. He directed the failed attempt to blow up U.S. cargo planes in 2010, and he repeatedly called on individuals in the United States and around the globe to kill innocent men, women, and children to advance a murderous agenda.
Look, I hate to say this, but most of that is, as far as we can tell, I don't want to say it's not true. It could be true, but they've presented no evidence of it. And I'm sorry, I forgot, and I left out of the list earlier that of all the things that Al-Awlaki is being accused of, the U.S. cargo planes that he was trying to blow up, or that the Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula was trying to blow up, they actually have the best evidence on that against Al-Awlaki. On the others, the evidence is much weaker, right? So that's the best one they got. But when Obama said that he was the leader of external operations, which, by the way, means he's the one that put out the messages. That doesn't mean he's the leader in planning. But then he later clearly said that he was planning and directing these operations. Well, that must be based on secret evidence, because they have never shared that evidence with anyone in the press. So now you might trust Obama. I don't know if you would trust Perry. I don't know if you would trust Bachmann. But I don't think we should run a system based on, well, I kind of trust that guy, so let's just do it that way. If you've never shown the American people evidence that the guy led and planned and directed these things, and this is actually the first time that anybody's been that specific about those charges, and never shown any evidence of it, and then you execute U.S. citizens abroad, I'm telling you, man, it is dangerous. And remember, if you're a real progressive, during the Bush years, we were outraged over Padilla, for example, because he was a U.S. citizen and they did not charge him with crimes. They just held him in prison under indefinite detention. And we were outraged that they were doing warrantless wiretapping on American citizens. But if you're outraged that we're wiretapping citizens and that we're holding citizens in indefinite detention, which, by the way, Obama claims he can also do, and the warrantless wiretapping he still does, then you should be incredibly outraged that we can execute citizens without any trial or due process. It doesn't matter which party has the guy that's the president. Please, for the love of God, don't make decisions based on, well, it's a Democratic president, so it must be okay, or it's a Republican president, it must be okay. Now, let's turn to the Republican side. Now, there's two things here. First of all, despite all of this, and then you got to give Obama credit on being tough on terror, et cetera. You might not agree with his tactics, as some of his tactics I don't agree with, some I do. But he got Osama bin Laden. That was fantastic. Nothing wrong there. He got Al-Awlaki, which is billed as one of the largest leaders of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, which is now the most lethal branch of Al-Qaeda. He got Muammar Gaddafi, basically, had the right policy in Libya, another policy I was in favor of. He's got a pretty good report card. So Gallup does a poll. How many of you favor the Republicans and how many favor the Democrats in keeping the country safe from external threats? 49% Republicans, 38% Democrats. It's like it doesn't matter. Obama could have killed everyone in Al-Qaeda. And the Republicans could agree, yeah, that's right. He obliterated it. He blew to smithereens every single person in Al-Qaeda. And the American people will be like, yeah, all right, fine. 45% in favor of Republicans, 42% in favor of Democrats. Well, what do you got to do to get national security credentials? Part of the problem is that the Republicans just do better marketing. They just keep saying, we're better on defense. We're better on defense. Based on what? By the way, you know who didn't get bin Laden for 8 years? George W. Bush. He never got him. He went to Afghanistan, wasted our time and money and precious lives there, Iraq, etc. He never got him. He never got any of them, right? But nonetheless, the Republicans, because they keep saying, we're better, we're better, we're better, we're better, they just win on the issue. Democrats should learn something from that, but of course they won't, right? So that part of it is maddening to me. Now, of course, the poll was done before we got Al-Awlaki. Al-Awlaki was today. The poll was done earlier, right? We'll see if that changes, but my guess is it's a hell of a thing to change, right? And it'll take some time, and it might never change. So now the other part of it is the Republicans who are running for president are split on whether we should give credit to Obama. Well, first of all, of course they're not going to give credit to Obama. The question is, what do they give him discredit for? So Gary Johnson is a libertarian. He goes on the side of we shouldn't have killed the guy. So let's listen.
There's an issue here, and you probably talked about it this morning. This is the first U.S. citizen that has ever been targeted for death by the United States government. So this is unprecedented, and I certainly at best have mixed feelings about this. This is why this country was established. You can't have a government going through the countryside rounding up citizens because they're a threat to the country and then putting them to death.
Okay, I think it's a totally fair point. On these kind of civil liberties issues, we have great agreement with the libertarians. One more from Gary Johnson. He
is a U.S. citizen. He was a U.S. citizen, and never before have we targeted a U.S. citizen for death. So lot of new ground here. And so moving forward, yeah, we want to be vigilant against terrorism, absolutely. But as a U.S. citizen, all of us are entitled to due process. And
Sure.
Al-Awlaki is the first person to be denied that due process.
He's right about that. Ron Paul continues. Of course, Ron Paul is another libertarian candidate running for president. They're both under the Republican Party label. Al-Awlaki was born here. He's an American citizen. He was never tried or charged for any crimes. To start assassinating American citizens without charges, we should think very seriously about this. So I'm in that camp. I agree with Ron Paul and Gary Johnson on this. Now, John Bolton is in the camp of kill 'em all. John Bolton is as big a neocon as there is in the country, loved the Iraq War, wants to invade Iran, and believes, of course, we should execute any and all people suspected of being al-Qaeda. But shockingly enough, he thinks that this was not good enough and not that big a deal.
At the same time, I think it's important as individual al-Qaeda and figures and other terrorists are killed that we not read more into it than is there. Consider this analogy if you were around in the 1920s and somebody said, my God, Vladimir Lenin is dead. The Bolsheviks will never recover from this. He was an intellectual. He was operational. He was a great communicator. He was so inspiring. Who's ever heard of Joseph Stalin? You know, these subordinates have a way of surprising us. So while Al-Awlaki's death is significant, I would not read cosmic consequences into it just yet.
I love the Fox News anchor. She said, oh, very good point. Very good point. Oh, yes, excellent. Obama shouldn't get any credit. That's a great point, John Bolton. All right, a couple of things here. One, John Bolton is making excuses because his party, the Republican Party, is a bunch of losers who never got anybody. They didn't get bin Laden, they didn't get Al-Awlaki, they didn't get anybody. So every time that Obama gets somebody, they go, oh, of course that doesn't count, that's no big deal. That's, oh, so you got Lenin, so what, then you're gonna get Stalin next. Well, so that's your excuse for never getting anybody? So if you re-elect Republicans, they promise that they'll continue to be losers who never catch any terrorists. Okay, and then you understand my disagreement with Bolton. It isn't that Bolton says, like Ron Paul says or Gary Johnson says, that he's got civil liberties issues with it. No, he loves it. But he says, I'm not going to give him credit no matter who he kills. He could kill them all and he wouldn't give him credit. And then the other part of it is, look, how is all those wars working out for us? You know, another story today is about how violence in Afghanistan in the last year has gone up 40%. More civilians dying, more of our soldiers dying, et cetera, et cetera. And as I was reading that story, and you look at the Al-Awlaki, you look at that and you go, what the hell are we doing in Afghanistan? We never get these guys by wide-scale invasions and wars. What are our troops doing in Afghanistan? There's almost no al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. So what we do is we do the drone strikes, we do the Navy SEAL Team 6, we do all those operations. That's how we get the guys. Same, a huge al-Qaeda leader in Somalia that we got, a little while back as well. But we're still in Afghanistan, and John Bolton wants us to go into Iran. Why? Because it isn't about getting those guys. You see that? Even when you get him, he doesn't give a damn. He doesn't care. That's not the point. The point is to get more money to the defense contractors. Because if we're in Afghanistan longer and we're in Iraq longer, they make a ton of money. They make literally billions on top of billions of dollars. Who cares that it doesn't work? The point isn't for it to work. The point is for it to exist. That's perpetual war gives perpetual profits to the defense companies. That's what John Bolton is actually in favor of. All right, Young Turks. All right, back on the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian. How you doing, Casper?
I'm doing excellent. Wearing my lovely Casual Friday shirt that says TYT University on it.
Not a big deal.
If you're not subscribed, you should think about it. You might get taught a lesson.
Oh.
Just kidding.
How do you do? Okay.
But seriously, you will get taught a lesson. Just not the kind of lesson you're looking for.
It'll just be a lesson on for-profit schools.
Yes.
No, there's a lot of great fun stuff on TYT University and smart reporting about for-profit schools.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, we got a lot of stories here. Oh, by the way, I should have said this from the beginning of the show. The most interesting article in the world is coming up in this hour.
It is.
It's amazing. It has to do with sports, but it has nothing to do with sports. You'll see.
Yes, we will get to that in just a minute. But first, I just want to remind you guys again, Lucas and I will be at Occupy LA tomorrow. The march will begin at Pershing Square at 10 a.m. Pacific time, obviously, and we will march from Pershing Square to City Hall. And then, of course, the protest is supposed to take place as long as it needs to take place. So if you are in the area, please go ahead and attend. I think it's an important protest to take part in. So.
All right, excellent. TYT crew will be there.
All right, since it's Friday, I thought I'd start off with a fun story. Ricky Robinette developed a new service known as FakeGirlfriend.co. And what this service does is it helps lonely gentlemen have a fake girlfriend text message them while they're with their friends. Or if they want to make another girl jealous, this fake service will text message them when they're with another girl.
Well, I have two totally different reactions to this. One is that if you do it to get another girl jelly, as Anna would say, that makes all the sense in the world. Okay, I'm in favor of that. Like, oh, it's not a big deal. Catherine just texted me.
That's exactly the case.
Right, and like if somehow you can get them to check out the website, which they won't, and she's hot, that's even better, et cetera, et cetera. Now, on the other hand, if you do that to impress your male friends, you are the world's biggest loser.
But that's actually one of the purposes. That is one of the reasons why 15,000 people have signed up for this service.
Dude, if you're doing it to get laid, I hear you, brother, okay? If you're doing it just to pretend to your friends that you're cool, ooh. The whole point of being friends is that you're supposed to be honest with one another, man. If you got to do that, there's something fundamentally wrong.
Let me explain to you how it works. So what you do is you save this phone number, okay, onto your cell phone. And when you save that phone number, you do it under your girlfriend's name, right? So let's say you want to name your girlfriend Stacy, that's what you do. And then after that, basically, when you're out with your friends, you send a text message to the fake girlfriend number. And then the fake girlfriend will respond with a random girlfriend-esque message. So some of the messages that is programmed. No, some of the messages that is programmed to say is, "I miss you, honey. XOXO, winky face."
Oh, winky face. Winky face. Don't do it with your friends, man. I'm begging you. Okay.
When are you gonna come see me? I miss you. Smiley face. Okay, so very stereotypical female responses. And then about a minute later, the fake girlfriend will actually call you with a pre-recorded message.
Oh, that's awesome. If they overhear it, that'll be even better. Hello, I am your friend, Gertrude. It is great to talk to you.
Gertrude.
Winky face. LOL.
Sorry. Two things. First, I don't know how many guys go and reach for each other's phones and go, let me see what she's, oh my God, let me see what she said to you. Oh, is she sweet? Oh my God. Number one. And number two, if your idiot friends do that, after they see that you have text messages say, I miss you, when are you going to come see me? We go, you bitch. You gonna go get yanked around, tuck your tail between your legs? Go ahead, go on. She got you by the balls, doesn't she? It doesn't work. Why
on the other hand, if that dude is like so desperate that he's doing this with his friends, right?
15,000 people signed up.
I know, but I'm hoping this mainly to impress other girls. But if he's so desperate he's doing it with his friends, he's probably like, oh, what am I gonna do? The whole ball and chain. I know. What am I gonna do? I gotta go home. Like that's probably a good thing for him. You see what I'm saying? But I gotta believe in humanity that it's mainly to trick girls. I hope that's the case.
Well, okay. What's interesting is on the How It Works list, note number 5, which says, after you hang up, tell everyone how great your girlfriend is.
Oh, please stop. Please stop. Don't do it. Can't win. Can't play with it. Can't win with it. Okay. Yeah. All right. What's next?
By the way, just really quick thing. I know that there's a possibility that there are guys out there who will use this service to make their guy friends jealous, right? But I want to at least balance the story out by saying that women do stuff like this all the time with their friends. And not just with their friends, with other guys as well. Like, one thing that I know for sure is that there are women out there who will buy themselves flowers and pretend like a guy bought it for them.
Oh, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
I know.
Please.
End of this.
Please don't do it.
It's so transparent and so ridiculous. Like, they'll send themselves flowers to work. It's super obvious, right? And it'll be from a secret admirer, right? And then they'll take pictures of it and they'll post it on social media, and it's like, we get you, girl. All right, you want to feel better about yourself. No guy on the planet is going to send you flowers every single week.
Oh, or is it that they're actually getting flowers, but Anna's a little jelly and says,
no.
oh, that can't be real.
Okay, to be fair to me, I don't care about flowers at all. Like, if it was like a box of chocolates or maybe cookies or muffins or something, then all of a sudden maybe
Well, I brought you poppycock. But you wouldn't eat it.
I don't like poppycock.
We've been over this.
Yes.
Where was that on? TYT Underground? I think that video was on TYT Underground. You should check that out.
It was?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
To understand anything of what we were just saying. Anyway, yes.
Now to Cenk's most interesting story. Southern Methodist University used a pitch monitoring system known as QuestTech to see if ethnicity ever plays a role when it comes to decisions made by the umpire during a baseball game. And what they found was that umpires actually make favorable calls for white pitchers.
Now, to be a little bit more detailed on that, actually the umpires make calls in favor of their own ethnicity.
Yes.
Okay? But it just happens that most of the umpires are white. Okay?
Yes.
So now if it's a black umpire, he's calling balls and strikes in favor of black pitchers, but that doesn't happen often. So since most of the umpires are white, this winds up giving an enormous institutional advantage to white pitchers.
Yes.
And QuestTech is something that tracks the pitches anyway. It's a computerized pitch monitoring system. And they tracked 3.5 million pitches from 2004 to 2008. So it's not like, oh, this is a small sample. This is a gigantic sample. So some of the results. Umpires showed racial bias, but when they found out that they were being monitored by the computer, they had less racial bias.
Yes. Now, we actually have some graphics that'll give you more details into this study, so why don't we take a look at that? So what SMU found was that home plate umpires called disproportionately more strikes for pitchers in their same ethnic group because most home plate umpires are white. This has been a big form of racial privilege for white pitchers who researchers show on average getting disproportionately more than the benefit of the doubt on those calls. Now, SMU researchers also found that minority pitchers reacted to umpire bias by playing it safe with pitches they threw in a way that actually harmed their performance in statistics. Basically, these hurlers adjusted to the white umpire's artificially narrower strike zone by throwing pitches down the heart of the plate where they were easier for the batters to hit.
So you get a second disadvantage, which is that, well, then I'm not getting any of the calls, so I might as well throw it right down the middle to get the call, and then that makes it easier to hit, as Sirota explains in his article in Salon. But actually, he was mainly quoting the SMU researchers there,
Yes.
right? And so you get a double whammy, right? And it's so true in real life, too, in terms of the stereotypes and the repercussions that the stereotypes cause. So you don't get the job because you're black, and then you wonder if it was you, and you have less confidence. And the next job interview you go to, you have you're more insecure, and that hurts you in getting the next job, right? And it goes on, as an example. That's why this isn't a story about sports as much as it is about racism we're not even aware of, right? And all of us, it's not just white folks. Again, remember, all ethnicities wind up favoring their own ethnicities. Now, it just happens that there are more white people in the country, so this becomes an enormous institutional disadvantage for minorities. And it's true in all fields, but this is a great example of it.
Yes. Wait, what do you mean it's a good example of it?
No, I thought you had more graphics.
No, I didn't have more graphics. I'm like, wait, why is he throwing it to me? Well, I didn't have anything else to say.
Okay, hold on. So, now here's some other parts. When the umpires knew that they were being monitored by the computer, or there was a large attendance at the game, right? Or it was a game that was really important, like playoffs, etc. This is fascinating. The racial bias would go completely down and be nearly non-existent. So, I'm not... And SMU researchers are not charging that all these umpires, whether white or black or Latino, are all racist on purpose. The assumption is that they don't really quite know that they're being racist, but when everybody's watching, they're more careful.
Yes.
And they're like, okay, wait, and I gotta call it balls and strikes as I actually see them, right? And so that is a great argument in favor of, hey, you know what? We shouldn't ignore the problem and say, oh, don't worry, you don't have to monitor it. Like, because a lot of conservatives will say, oh, you just keep focusing on race, and oh, you want to monitor it and regulate it, etc. But this goes to show you, if you do monitor it, people pay closer attention, and you actually get rid of racial bias.
Yes.
Right? So I think it's an amazing story that shows what happens when we don't even realize we're doing it, and the disadvantages that are out there and how they can be addressed.
Yeah. No, and I love this story, not because it's a baseball-related story, but because it shows you that there are people in the country right now who deny that racism exists, right? They think back to the 1960s and are like, what? We've come such a long way. Racism doesn't exist. You know, I always think of Dr. Laura saying, oh, we got a black president, get that chip off your shoulder, right? But the reality is the racism isn't as explicit as it was before. You don't see segregation, but you see, you know, systems that are set up in such a way that creates a disadvantage to minority groups. We can't deny that. Instead of denying it, why don't we do something to fix it?
Absolutely right. Now, one last thing that is actually related to baseball. This makes me have great respect for Latino pitchers because there are not very many Latino umpires, okay, and some of them are still awesome. If they overcome all of that, okay, and they're still amazing pitchers, damn, they must be fantastic. You see what I'm saying? I don't know why I picked Latinos. You know why? Because there's some black umpires, I feel like. Although things might have changed a little bit. But have things changed? You know, I'm old school baseball follower. Are there Latino umpires these days?
Not many.
Not many, right?
So I'm still waiting for them. Because then I'll break into the MLB. Then.
And watch out. Then it's Godoy time. Here comes Jesus. All right. I can't get enough of that story, but we're going to move on.
All right, another sports-related story. 11-year-old Demias Jimerson is from the Wilson Intermediate Football League, and he's so good at scoring touchdowns that the league has made a special rule for him, which basically says that he can only make a maximum of 3 touchdowns per game, just so the other players can get a shot at it.
That's amazing. They've actually reinstituted this old rule. They came up with another player that was awesome. We'll let the reporter explain.
Malvern hasn't seen a football player like this for a long time.
He's going to score almost every time he touches the ball.
At the young age of 11 years old, Demias Jimerson reminds a lot of people of Razorback great Madre Hill. Like Jimerson, Hill attended Wilson Intermediate School and dominated the football field so thoroughly, the league invoked what came to be known as the Madre Hill rule. Once Hill scored 3 touchdowns, if his team had a 14-point lead, officials banned him from scoring any more touchdowns. Now, for the first time since, the Wilson Intermediate Football League is using the Madre Hill rule again to tackle Demias Jimerson.
I kind of got shocked because I didn't know that was going to happen, but it did.
And now?
I'm okay with it.
Principal Terry Bryant says the rule isn't meant to punish Jimerson. It's there to help the other 5th and 6th graders on the field develop as football players too.
The other players on both teams, 21 are just left sort of, this is all Demias. So that's why the Madre Hill rule has been implemented.
But the Madre Hill rule is only for 5th and 6th grades. Next year, Jimerson goes to 7th.
I run hard and bring our team to victory. But God always comes first for anything, and grades second.
God, grades, then touchdowns. Madre Hill rule or not.
Precious.
I can't believe he's a 6th grader.
Yeah.
He's so mature for a 6th grader.
I know, and he's so fast.
I'm okay with it.
I'm ready to draft him for my fantasy football league right now. Okay, so here's a couple of things. He was twice as fast as anyone else on the field. It was amazing. It's like they looked like they were standing still, and he's just walking around them. Now, I have questions. They said he can't score any more touchdowns. So can he then run all the way to the 1 and take a knee? Keep running to the 1, take a knee, take around the 1. Or do they just ban him and take him out of the game? What if they're up by 14 points and they take him out of the game and they can't bring him back and then they lose the game? That ain't right? So my guess is a guy like JR is going to be opposed to this rule because he's going to say, that's un-American, you should let him score 78 touchdowns. Go.
You know what the problem is? Okay, say my kid is one of those kids who looks like he's running in quicksand while this dude is juking and jerking between all of them. He may be upset and say, Dad, this guy, Jamaros, I think his name, Jamaris or something, I just can't catch him. I was like, well, let's work on it. If he's better than you, let's work on it. That's all you can do. I mean, do you want to win? Stop him. That's life. Stop him. Learn how to stop him. If you can't stop him, then hope to win the rest of your games, not that one. But, I mean, this is life. These are life lessons. This is a perfect opportunity to teach kids not to be losers, but to try and get better.
All right, so my kid's half Turkish, half Chinese. So here's what I tell him. Don't worry about it. Let's go play some ping pong. Okay, I'm playing. Look. I know. But you know what? Your kid, my kid, ain't going to catch that kid. Okay? Nobody's going to catch that kid. And the only reason why I'm not flipping out over it is because it's 5th and 6th graders. So I see what the principal's saying. Let them all play. They're just kids, right? And I also agree that once you get to 7th grade, let them whoop everybody's ass. Okay? Let them go to work, okay? Let them bring some blowtorch and a couple of pliers and go to work on those 7th graders.
And if you're a good coach, put together a scheme that completely surrounds this kid. Make him go to somebody else. And maybe the rest of his team sucks, and maybe they'll drop the ball when he throws it back across the field, because just surround this kid.
That I 100% agree with. I mean, let's do some coaching, right? I mean, if I'm playing against this kid, I tell my guys, I don't even want you to look at anybody else, okay? I want all 11 of you, forget where the ball is, okay? At least on the first drive, okay? We're going to make them adjust. First 2 or 3 drives. Don't even look at the ball. All 11 you go tackle that kid, okay? And then eventually when they bring it to other kids, then we'll have a conversation. Okay.
And
right?
last thing, I love this kid's attitude. He's like, at first I was upset, but I'm okay with it. And he's like, first comes God, then comes my grades, and then it was football. I mean, come on. I mean, you know what? That's like giving that. You got to give props to his parents. Whoever taught him the way his mindset and the way he approaches life, because I'm sure there's a lot of spoiled ass kids that'd be like, I can't believe they wanted me to score. Didn't you know I'm a superstar? Because a lot of parents would probably be like, you're the star. Don't let them tell you not to, you know.
Right. No. Listen, you know I'm agnostic. I love that kid. That's the greatest kid in the country. No, you're right. That upbringing is excellent. And I like that he thinks, oh, well, now the kids should have a shot at football too. Let him play a little bit. And by the way, the fact that he does not have a gigantic ego is a minor miracle, okay? Because if they said, hey, Jang, I'm sorry, you got to sit down, you're scoring too many touchdowns. It's unfair to have you on the field because you're too good. I'd be like, not a big deal.
Oh, God.
Okay. But I'd be like, oh, you couldn't fit my head in the room. I couldn't get out the door because of the head situation. And this kid's like, well, I'm going to concentrate on my grades and God, and then, okay, with this shit, Come on, this kid's too good. I love it. All right, next year, I'm drafting him number 1. Okay. Especially if you're in a keeper league, looking to get in that guy right away. So Obama would say, right away. Okay, next.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we have a story on Bahrain and the amount of money we're spending on giving their government weapons.
Oh, lovely. Fantastic. Yes.